Hello everyone, and welcome back to Monday's lesson, which talks about near-death experiences. As the author of the lesson points out, some of the most popular modern arguments to prove the theory of the immortality of the soul are near-death experiences. Many of these individuals claim to have seen a loving and warm being of light before coming back to life. Some claim to have been to heaven, where they spent time with loved ones who had also died and gone to heaven. This has been regarded as proof that human beings have an immortal soul. Now, let's face it, how do you argue with personal experience? These people actually believe that they had died and gone to heaven. So how do we respond to this? Well, first we respond with science. There is absolutely no scientific evidence that human beings have a spirit. If there's some spirit being inside of us, then in some way, shape, or form, it would manifest itself. But it's simply not there. Secondly, there's a huge difference between a clinical death and an actual death. For example, Lazarus was dead for 4 days, dead to the point where he smelled like death because his body was beginning to rot. But not so with clinical death. To be clinically dead means that your heart has stopped beating and you're no longer breathing, but the brain can still be working. Now think about this. We're relying on the testimony of people whose brains are under the influence of substances that have induced a state of unconsciousness, and now the brain is deprived of oxygen? Would you trust a person who says that while under the influence of medication and oxygen deprivation, they were in the afterlife? What these people are experiencing is not the afterlife, but a hallucination. And yes, hallucinations can seem real. Ask anybody who has had one, and they'll tell you it feels very real. What researchers found interesting is that most of the near-death experiences taking place in the Western world, and that the afterlife tends to differ according to the person involved. In other words, if you're a Mormon, then interestingly enough, you end up in an afterlife exactly the way you thought it would be as a Mormon, and the same goes for people of other faiths. In other words, the afterlife was a product of their own preconceived ideas. Here's the danger in all of this. Can Satan influence you in this state? Can Satan appear as an angel of light while we're unconscious and our brains are oxygen deprived? You bet he can. Which is why we have to base our beliefs about death on the Bible and not our own experiences, no matter how real they seem. To the law and to the testimony. If they do not speak according to the Word of God, you bet they are not from God. Well, that was our nugget for today. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you tomorrow.